bringing Israel to the world. This is IBN News.
With news of Israel, I'm Susan Michaels. Hamas is calling for renewed March of Return protests following a 3-week hiatus. The protests would be the first since the recent outbreak of violence between Gaza and Israel. Last Friday, a 16-year-old Palestinian died after being shot by IDF troops during an unofficial protest along the border fence. 4 others were injured. The 5 protesters were throwing improvised explosive devices at IDF troops, despite Hamas's decision to suspend the weekly March of Return demonstrations for a 3rd week. After the death of the teen, a member of the March of Return steering committee called for protesters to turn out once again for a demonstration, saying that Israel was responsible for the loss of life. At the same time, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and Palestinian Islamic Jihad leader Ziad Nahala are meeting with Egyptian intelligence as talks continue for a ceasefire arrangement with Israel. Leaders of Likud and Blue and White met earlier this week in a last-ditch effort to close the gaps on a unity government, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Benny Gantz sharing a rotating premiership. After the 45-minute meeting, the two left without issuing a joint statement to the media. The greatest barrier to reaching an agreement is the issue of who would serve as prime minister first, and the second is whether members of the other right-wing bloc would also be a part of the government. Netanyahu is blaming Blue and White for failing to make concessions, saying that if Israel goes to a 3rd round of elections, that he would win. I want unity, but Blue and White refuse to make even the slightest of concessions. A Lebanese American has been sentenced in U.S. courts to 40 years in prison for buying weapons and plotting attacks on behalf of the Lebanese terror group Hezbollah. 34-year-old Ali Karani, who was naturalized by the U.S. in 2009, attended Hezbollah training camps in Lebanon and took orders from agents of the Iranian-backed group after moving to the U.S. And the French National Assembly has passed a bill which rules that anti-Zionism is a modern form of anti-Semitism. The bill was promoted after a large number of anti-Semitic acts were committed in France over the past year. I'm Susan Michaels.
IBN, Israel Broadcast Network.